in the peak of hurricane season, and this time can be stressful, especially for those who suffered damage during previous storms like Hurricane Ida. Dr. Holly McKenna with Dara Wellness joins us to explain how we can cope with some of this anxiety that we can get during hurricane season. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how can hurricane season affect us mentally?
You know, it's pretty common during this time of year to start having the butterflies, start having like the need to start planning. And I mean, we live in a toilet bowl, so some of it is realistic. But with the anniversaries does come more anxiety, does come more planning, more kind of thinking ahead. And again, some is necessary. Sometimes it can go overboard.
It's that fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
The what if factor.
100%. And we've learned from experience that, you know, there's some basis in that.
That's right. And we know that, I was telling you during the commercial break, I was saying, you know, I get somewhat of a hurricane season anxiety too. Because we know that if a hurricane comes our way, us reporters, we kind of stay in town to deliver the news. And I think more preparation, what do I need for my job to stay and kind of cope through that. But a lot of people need to think of some other things too, like medications and if they have elderly parents, things like that. So there can be a lot of stress associated.
Yes, and I mean, the flip side of that is it's actually positive to focus on the things that you can do.
Yeah.
So having, you know, reviewing the NOLA Ready website, having that extra change of clothes if you are one that has to work during the storm, or having that extra amount of medication, or knowing where you would go to if you had to evacuate and what pharmacies are there if you're one that's on medication.
That's a good point. Kind of focus on the things that we can change or address.
And that actually will lower anxiety because you have a plan. And then you have to kind of look at what are the things that you really can't plan for.
And I want to talk about that because when do we know, I guess the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress of hurricane season is becoming a serious thing that's hindering us from living life?
Absolutely. So PTSD is a lot about avoidance. So when you're avoiding looking at the weather at all, to the point that it might hinder you and put you in danger, or avoiding looking at things that maybe are reminding you of Ida or Hurricane Katrina. Also having a recurrence of those experiences, whether it be through nightmares or through vivid dreams or triggers. That's a real indication of PTSD, as is just being hypervigilant. I mean, it's one thing to plan for a storm, which I think is realistic. It's another to be up all night listening to the Weather Channel, listening to whatever kind of weather sources you can get.
Doom scrolling almost.
Doom scrolling, even when there's not a named storm in the Gulf. Like that's another level, but it's something that can happen when folks kind of enter into that post-traumatic stress space.
So what can we do to address that? If we think that we're maybe dealing with that PTSD phase of hurricane anxiety, what can we do?
Well, one thing is to reach out to a mental health professional, because then they can actually help evaluate you and help come up with a plan. But maybe while you're waiting for that to happen, some self-care tips would be doing whatever you can to ground yourself into the moment. I love using just our senses, you know, using like, what do you see in the room? What do you hear? What do you feel? Those things can kind of help you bring into the here and now. Also, like listening to music, journaling, and leaning on friends is a big thing.
I was going to say, you know, here in Louisiana, we love to tell stories with our friends, especially hurricane stories of, well, I remember during Hurricane Katrina, or I remember during talking to your friends that can also relate might help ease some of that stress.
You know, I have a really dear friend whose birthday is actually next week, and she just reached out to a group of us and said, listen, I never get to celebrate my birthday because I'm evacuated. Can we like put something in pencil and like start talking about it? Because she admitted she was vulnerable and admitted, I have anxiety around this. This is something that doesn't always happen. I'm always you know, nervous about even planning it. But it let us have that conversation. It let us all be there for her so she can lean on us.
And you understand where it's coming from.
And so allowing yourself to be that vulnerable with your family, with your friends, because we've all been there. Like we all get it.
We all get it. Dr. Holly McKenna, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Good topic, especially since we are still in hurricane season. All right.